Hey, everybody. Welcome to the In All Things podcast. It's time to see God in everything.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the In All Things podcast. This week is a special episode, not in the normal seasons. We got Jared on, and my name is Josiah, as always. What's up, Jared?
Not much. This is really weird.
I know. Yeah.
I'm usually on the other side of the screen, and I can't see if the cameras are still recording because nobody else is in here.
Yeah.
And so just going to hope that everything's working. And,
I'm sure it is. If not, we'll be doing this again.
Mitch handed us the keys to the podcast and was like, get her done. And so here we are.
Make content.
Make content. And a lot of
Those
people
were
are
his
like an episode of In All Things in the summer, like what the heck is going on?
Mm-hmm.
So, so this is my first time doing this in this style. I've been on podcast one other time, and I wasn't doing the interviewing, so I'm just like, I don't even know. I don't know where to go from here.
It's gonna be wild. Yeah.
I guess we should start off and say like, thank you for listening, for everybody for tuning in today, and we've got we're just gonna sit and have a conversation about Josiah, about who he is, why the heck he introed the podcast today.
Yeah. Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe, and leave a comment. I don't even know. We might not have comments open. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
But anyway, so Josiah, tell us why are you even? Who are you? Why are you here today?
Yeah. Well, my name's Josiah Webster, and I am the new worship pastor here at Sycamore Creek Church.
Boom. That's awesome.
So I'm here forever now, which is cool.
Forever.
Forever, ever.
Yeah. I said
wearing the merch.
yesterday was my 11th anniversary on staff. And I said, if you make it 11 years, it'll be
2034.
2034. So,
Yeah.
and that will be 22 years for me. So who knows what the
Who
future
knows?
holds.
It could be.
Yeah.
Could be. Why not?
Yeah. So, so you're here because you're our newest employee, and we thought it would be cool to do an episode to let people get to know you a little bit.
Yeah.
And for the couple hundred people that listen to this, they'll know who you are when they see you on stage on this coming Sunday. Leading worship.
First time.
Yeah. So, tell us a little bit about how you grew, who you are, how you grew up, who your parents are, what they did, because that's important to the story.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was born in California in the 90s. And my dad's always been in ministry. So he went from being a youth and worship pastor to associate to senior pastor. So I've always been around ministry. And then when I was 6, we all moved overseas to be missionaries for 10 years. So Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. We were in Western Europe. I have 2 brothers. So the 5 of us all packed up and moved to Germany. Learned the language, went to local schools, and my parents did church planting. And then after 10 years, some things were happening with our family, and so we had to move back to the States, and we moved to Richmond, Virginia, and that's where I came to know Jesus myself. I always knew about Jesus, and I understood kind of, there's a God, and Jesus died on the cross for me, but I always struggled with giving up control because I wanted to do what I wanted to do. And that's really tough when you give the keys to your life over to God. So, so in high school, freshman year, the summer right after freshman year, I gave my complete control of my life to God. And so that was really cool. And then we were doing a church plant in Richmond, Virginia. And my dad asked me if I would start leading worship because pretty much I was the only one there.
Nobody else would do it.
Yeah, nobody else would do it, and I could play guitar and I could sing a little bit. And so he was like, "Will you?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, I'm pretty new at this, but I'll try."
What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah, and there were like 3 families. Like it was pretty small. they were very sweet nonetheless. But so I did that and kind of discovered that I loved doing music and I loved using music to bring people closer to God. And so when we moved to Nashville halfway through my senior year, we were at a really big mega church, and I just asked like if there was anywhere I could plug into, whether it was like youth band or adult band or whatever. And due to, them having enough people on their rosters and all that stuff, I wound up serving in the children's department. I was leading worship for 3rd and 4th graders week in and week out, and it was a blast.
Fun.
It was a lot of high energy and short attention spans. But it's fun, and like kids are cool. So we did that, and then after like a year and a half, a year into college, I was in Nashville. I realized like I don't vibe super well. Like my personality doesn't mesh super well with like Southern culture. Southern is very like warm and welcoming, and you kind of never really know what's going on behind the eyes. And I'm very much like all out front, like
Sure.
This is who you see is who you get. And so I was clashing with some of that. And so I looked for opportunities, and I wound up doing a missionary stint for 6 months in northern Spain, where we were targeting people in surfing communities on the north coast of Spain. And so me and my missionary partner, we were there with some full-time missionaries who lived there. And we were just trying to meet people. So we were on the water like 5 days a week for 4 hours each, and just like speaking super broken Spanish and trying to like get to know people. And God was really good. He used us through that. And so in 6 months, we started a small group, and we're able to hand it off to the full-time missionaries by the time we left. While I was in Spain, my family uprooted again, and they moved to Chicago. And even though I was going to college in Nashville, I was living at home to save on money. And so I had a choice as my 6-month stint was coming to an end. Like, do I fly back to Nashville and figure out where I'm going to live, or do I go to Chicago because my college has a pretty good online program? So I moved to Chicago in the wintertime in December from a beach climate, and it was like negative 20 the day that I got there. It was terrible. But God was really good, and I got plugged into ministry in Chicago and served at a church for almost 9 years, something like that. I lose track. But yeah, went into vocational ministry, and I became a worship pastor, and got to train under some really awesome people and work with my dad, which was really cool. So I got to like glean all that experience from him. And now we're here in Ohio.
Here you are.
And yeah, we got in contact, and we felt God was moving us somewhere else, and you felt God was moving you somewhere else on staff.
Yeah.
It kind of worked out.
Yeah, it's a unique situation.
Yeah.
Me sticking around and leaving my position, but sticking around in the same organization, which doesn't happen a lot.
No, it doesn't. But
it's super cool. I'm excited for the future. I think that people that are listening to this, obviously we have a lot of people from Sycamore Creek that listen to this. There's some people that aren't church members that listen to this, but
sure.
From an outsider's point of view, especially you, when you saw Sycamore Creek, what are some of the things that stood out about this church that you were like, that's the place that I would love to plug my family into a long-term career position?
Yeah.
What is it about Sycamore Creek that led you here when you saw the job listing for the first time?
Yeah. Well, so there's kind of two fronts of that. There's the career path, and then there's the family path, and they both have reasons, but I'll start with the family path. So one of the things that I love about Sycamore Creek is the people who come here. There's people who look like me and my wife Mallory, who have young kids, who are in the same season of life as us, who are trying to figure out parenting and being faithful and figure out life together, which some other churches that I've been at, like that's a big gap for a lot of churches, is kind of that post-college, young family, young married situation. So we haven't had that. So we're really excited to get plugged into people who have the same, problems that we have, like babies that won't sleep and trying to figure out meals and stuff like that. All the good stuff that comes with being a parent.
Yeah.
So the family aspect was super encouraging and promising. And then when we came, and I led worship for a few songs on a Sunday.
Yeah.
It was just like everybody was so warm, and like they didn't know why we were here. They didn't know what was going on. They saw some faces they didn't recognize and wanted to say hi.
Yep.
Which is awesome. And I would say a great indicator of a healthy church with people who just want to reach the world. And so that was super encouraging and affirming on the family side. In terms of the career side, man, it just felt like a perfect match. Like, I took my church in Chicago from like pews and overhead projectors to a very similar place to where Sycamore is now. So I know all the decisions that go into that and kind of all the time and conversations and things. And one of the things that struck me about Sycamore, other than just like it's familiar because I've lived it as well, is the intentionality behind everything. To change the world by changing lives, but you guys really put your mouth where your feet is, or whatever the phrase is. You go
something like that.
Yeah. You do what you say you're doing. So every decision that you have made is a very purposeful decision to reach the world, to engage people, lost and saved, to bring them closer to Jesus and help them in their relationship with him. So all of that was very exciting because I'm coming from a place where I'm like, okay, cool. Like, yeah, I know this journey, but I want to see where it goes. Like, I want to see where this continues. I want to see how God uses us here. I want to see how God shapes us and grows our family and grows us into, community with this church. So, yeah, we're really excited about it.
That's awesome, man. So I think I'd like to kind of tell the story about the first week when we met and how all that stuff fell into place. Because
it was wild.
There's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that a lot of people won't hear about. But we started this process I think in November or December, and we used an amazing search firm, Fruit Group. You guys should look them up if you've never heard anything about them. But they basically do staffing just for worship pastors. They've branched into what else? Family and like kids ministry, youth
family
ministry,
and youth pastors.
But anyway, so they came to us on Tuesday. We set up a meeting. They came to us on a Tuesday. They said, "Hey, we've got 5 candidates for you guys to look over." And we were like, all right, let's check them out. And so they presented each candidate to us, you being one of them. And they were very methodical. They talked through every candidate, and they did a 20-minute presentation on each one. And then your profile came up last. You're number 5. And pretty much instantaneously, like, we need to talk to this guy. And so we got done with that.
Despite my 15-minute video.
Yeah. So they did they tell you guys, I don't know exactly what.
They tell us to make a portfolio video.
Yeah.
And I go, great, like, what do you want in it? And they go, well, tell us about your worship philosophy and show some snippets of you leading worship. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
How in depth do you want this worship philosophy thing? I've been doing it for a long time. I could go on.
Yeah.
Whatever you want. And I go, okay, great. Let me know if it needs changes. So I make this video. It's like 15 minutes long. Then I send it to the guy, and I'm like, how's this? And he's like, dude, it's great. Okay, cool. I didn't know until you guys told me that everybody else's was like 30 seconds.
Yeah. Most of them were like a minute, 2 minutes, and yours was like 15 minutes long. And like, there's so many things about your candidate profile that we like kind of laughing at now.
Yeah.
Like, it makes it, in my opinion, makes it even that much more obvious that you were the right guy for this job, considering we were able to glance over a lot of these little things. But anyway, so they presented you to us as the number 5 candidate. No specific order that I know of. They may have a method behind that, which way they present, like, the best guy first or last, whatever. But
no clue.
But anyway, so we got out of that meeting, and then I emailed you right away, and I was like, bro, come on, we want you to come in.
10 in the evening,
yeah,
by the way.
Yeah, I was like
in bed, and I was like, I just got an email from them.
I was like, we want to bring you out here and get to know you, see your face, meet you a little bit. And so that was on a Tuesday night.
Thursday.
And then you came here like what?
A week later.
1 week after that, you were here.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just by like coincidence that you were able to do that, because you already had vacation scheduled with your parents who live close by.
Yeah, they live in North Columbus.
Yeah, so it was like,
it was so weird.
And in the meantime, I think maybe it was our first conversation. You said that you and Mallory were praying that the Lord would just move quickly with whatever. And then so like here you are a week after you get presented to us. So you come in. Was that, what day of the week was that?
We met a Thursday.
Thursday
for lunch.
Yeah, so we met
for an informal interview. Yeah. Bring your wife. It's informal.
Yeah,
we were like, okay, I dress up. I'm like, you know what? This is going to be an interview, so I'll dress up for it. We sit down in Steve's office, and it's full on. So let's go over your stuff. You're like, okay, informal. I don't think so.
You don't want to know what formal looks like.
Oh man. Oh gosh.
So then we met with you for a little informal interview. We
Yep.
went to lunch. We sent you on your way.
Mm-hmm.
And then me and Steve and Christy huddled up, and we were like, all right, what are we going to do here? And with vacation schedules coming up for the staff, we wanted to bring you in on a weekend. And I don't know who floated the idea of like, well, he's already on vacation in Columbus this weekend.
Yeah.
Should we just have him lead worship in 2 days or 3 days or whatever? And I called you, and you were like, let's do it. Let's make it happen. And then and then you were here literally 3 or 4 days after we met. You were leading worship.
I was
on
leading
stage.
worship. Yeah, we met like the Saturday before just to like go over stuff.
yeah.
I hear the songs. Okay, let's practice them real fast,
Yeah.
and then Sunday we were on.
And then so then we had a process where we brought in another candidate to meet and to work through. And in the meantime, I was texting you, trying to make you feel comfortable, like
Right, yeah.
like
because there was a gap. There
Yeah.
was like
3 weeks,
We
2
did
weeks?
this in
Yeah.
like a week basically, and then you were trying to figure out things with the other guy to get him in, but he like didn't have availability
Yeah.
for a few weeks.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah, there was a gap, and you were like, let's make sure Josiah feels good about it, and like
Yeah.
I knew, I was like, it's
Yeah.
fine, it's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So like you knew, like you could kind of tell that the writing was on the wall based on how quickly we were moving
Yeah.
through the process. That you kind of felt comfortable, and you knew what was going on. That we
Yeah.
were really interested. And then yeah, I mean, a couple weeks later, we sent you a job offer, and you're ready to roll. And
Yeah.
and here you are.
Here I am.
So like within 2 months of less
from
of,
like
yeah.
the first email, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Then
yeah.
now here you are at Sycamore Creek. You have your office. Your office is all set up
All
on
moved
day
in,
one. You're
yeah.
all moved in, and so tell us tell everybody what your current situation is. So right now your whole family, you and your wife and your daughter, and all of your home furnishings and everything are
Yes.
at your parents' house.
Yeah, so I don't know when we're going to release this, but it's July 4th is tomorrow. So we have my aunt and uncle who are up to visit from North Carolina. They're staying at my parents' house. My older brother is staying at my parents' house, and he has his 2 little kids with him for the next 2 weeks. They're at my parents' house. And then me and my wife and my 1-year-old daughter are also living at my parents' house while we look for our house that we can get into, and all of our belongings and furniture is in their 2-car garage.
Yeah.
Just in boxes and bins,
Yeah.
just kind of sectioned off so we can walk around it. It's Luna slept in a closet last night. So
It's great.
yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah, that's crazy. Because
Yeah, I
I
know.
mean, we talked about it earlier. The benefit for your parents is they get to see their granddaughter every
sure,
day
yeah.
for like all day long.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, at least while they're there and while you guys are there.
Yeah.
And you said so like you guys are currently house hunting around here, which is next to impossible.
It's
in
a
this
wild market. Yeah, it's a wild
So
market.
hey, could be a good plug this podcast to be like, if anybody knows of a house that's about, if your neighbors are about
if you
to
want
move,
to sell
or,
a
like,
house to a worship pastor,
Yeah, yeah.
hit me up.
Yeah, if you have a great deal that's about to go in the market, yeah,
Exactly.
Jay Webster at sycamorecreek.org.
That's exactly right. Please
And,
contact us.
Yeah. So send it over. Who knows? Who knows what that could
It
lead
could
to? You don't
happen.
know.
It could
Like we
happen.
I'm sure we have quite a few realtors in it. I know you have a realtor, but we
Mm-hmm.
have quite a few realtors that may have a lead they could slip your way.
Yeah,
like,
maybe.
check out this house. It's
Oh,
about
this
to go on
one's
the market.
about to come on the market. Yeah, sure.
You never know. Who knows what
Hopefully.
the In All Things podcast could lead to, man?
It's presented by Sycamore.
So a couple things that I wanted to bring up to help people get to know you a little bit better. Okay, so
Yes.
you're a hobby guy. You like to get knee deep into hobbies. You know
I
where this is
do.
going.
Yeah, I know this is going. Yeah.
I'm the kind of same way. Like
Sure.
I'll pick up a hobby, and when I'm in that hobby, I go into it like 200% full steam.
You
and
learn
then-
everything there is to know about it.
And then one day comes where I get burnt out on the hobby, and it's time to move on to something
Exactly
else. Okay,
right.
so your hobby a while ago, like I don't know how long ago, was called what? What do you call this thing that you ride?
Oh, my scoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know where you're going because there's a few hobbies you could have made fun of me for.
This one's not worthy of being made fun of, but maybe when somebody sees you riding it,
It's pretty great. Yeah. So last summer, gas was getting crazy expensive.
$5
in
a gallon.
Chicago. Yeah, close to like $6. And my wife, she was in an accident, and so her car got totaled, and the only car we could buy for the price of the totaled car was this like 2015 Infiniti, which is great because it has lots of room for Luna, but it also only takes premium. So it was insane. So I did some research, and I was like, man, mopeds get like 80 miles to the gallon, and I can buy one shipped to me from China for like $1,000.
Yeah.
So I did the math on how much we're spending on gas and how much I would be saving driving this to and from work, and I was like, it would pay for itself in a summer. So I got myself this little scooter, think like a Vespa, but not as cool. And then, it had like a top speed of like 20 miles an hour. So I'm pretty mechanically inclined, and I went online and found like a whole community of people who love to make these cheap Chinese scooters go really fast. And so
It's a cult.
It is. It's wild, but it's super fun. So I rebuilt the engine and it did all this stuff, and now it'll cruise at like 45, 50 miles an hour. And yeah, it's my little scoot.
So you weren't brave enough to drive it today in the rain.
Not in the rain.
On the interstate.
For like a 50-minute drive. Yeah, I wasn't. No, not this time.
Yeah. So like, oh my God.
But when we get a new house, if somebody wants to see me riding this and you know of a house for sale,
there you go.
Another incentive. Yeah.
But the thing is, it can technically take you and your wife together, right?
It is a 2-seater.
Yeah.
It's a 2-seater.
It's not like, is it actually street legal?
Yes.
So is it registered with the BMV and everything?
So it came with a title, and because it's under 50 cc's in Illinois, it counts as a motorized bicycle, which means you don't need to get plates or tags or anything.
Yeah.
I need to look into if that's the case in Ohio.
Probably be good.
Yeah, I know. But, people drive like ATVs and
You're
stuff.
late to work one morning. We're like,
Yeah,
what
what happened? I was like,
you're in the
my
county jail.
Scoot got impounded. Yeah. No, but so I'll look into it. But it's got lights, it's got blinkers, brakes,
That's
everything.
crazy.
It's fun.
That's great. And how many MPGs does it get? Do you know?
It still gets like 80.
You have the original tank of gas in there? It's
Yeah,
like- Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
exactly. It's the same one.
Oh my gosh. So that's crazy.
It's super fun.
You wear a helmet?
Yes, I do when I take it out on the road.
Yeah. Knee pads? Elbow guards?
No. Got the little wrist ones for when you're learning how to ride skateboard.
I can. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to see it.
I'll bring it.
I'm excited to ride it around the parking
We can just
lot.
keep it here.
Yeah,
and
keep it
then,
in the garage out there.
Yeah, we'll convince Steve to make it like a sermon illustration.
Yeah, we need to go to Wendy's to pick up a bag of burgers for lunch one day. We'll just shoot across the street in the
I love
little
it.
scooter and
Yes.
get it. Could you
We can put one of those baskets on the front.
What about a sidecar?
Oh, now we're talking.
We could develop a sidecar.
You, me, and Mitch.
Yeah, I'm down.
Yeah, I like
we
it.
could do it. Yeah, that'd be cool. So that's a kind of a look into who you are
Yeah,
as
a
a
little
person.
bit.
I think another cool story. I have no idea how long we were going, by the way. So
No clue.
apologize if this podcast is
It's all good.
only 10 minutes or 10
It's
hours.
our
I
first
don't
day
know.
working together, so we're also
Yeah.
like getting to know each
Yeah.
other. Yeah.
You told us a cool story. Maybe you don't want this public, but you told us a cool story about how you met your wife and how you guys.
Yeah.
So like, do you not want to talk about?
I'll
Okay,
share it,
all right,
yeah.
cool.
I mean, I think-
kind of cool. Like,
It's only one story of me meeting my wife.
yeah, like you told us about like she was working as like a
She was
waitress
working
or-
as a waitress in
Yeah.
a hot wings place. Yeah, a restaurant, bar and grill. And me and my small group would go there. We would meet on Tuesday nights, and we would go there after small group to grab wings and like hang out. Our small group kept growing, and so we'd roll in at like 10 o'clock in the evening on a Tuesday night. 20 people all wanting separate checks. It's like a server's nightmare.
Yep.
And she was always working Tuesday nights. So she got stuck with us, and I thought she was really cute. And so I started flirting with her, which went completely over her head because she's used to like this bar environment where
Everybody
like,
does
dudes
that,
are
yeah.
very aggressive. And I
Big
was
group
not
of
that.
guys. Yeah.
Yeah, and I wasn't being aggressive. I was like, "Oh, I like your rings," or whatever
Yeah.
you say to a girl to make her look at you. So she didn't catch it at all for like 6 months.
You're
and
bad at that then, right?
apparently,
Yeah.
but all of my dude friends, I was like, I'm going to make her like me. So you just watch. I'm gonna get it. And we'd leave the restaurant and they'd be like, dude, you went in hard today and got shut down brutally. And I was like, yeah, this is not fun.
Yeah.
She was also like casually dating somebody else at the time, and so I'm sure that played a role. But so this went on for 6 months, and I went in one last time with my friends, not on a Tuesday, but I knew she was working because like I had gotten her number and things. And she hung out. I was flirting with her all night long, and she got off work and stayed and hung out with us at our table. And then we were like, okay, well, we're gonna leave. And she's like, okay, I'll grab my stuff from the back. Will you wait for me? We can walk out together. And we're like, oh, yeah, sure, definitely. She leaves the table, and I look at my friends, and I'm like, this is brutal. And they're like, you're dying out here, my dude. And I was like, okay, can you just take me home, please? Like, we drove together. Please just drive me home. And they're like, okay. So we left before she even came back. So she texted me and she was like, wow, like you just left. We were going to walk out together. And I was like, I'm very sorry. I clearly have been working under false presumptions. And that's on me. It's cool. We can be friends. I just needed to get out of there tonight. And she's like, well, what were your assumptions? And I was like, we don't need to go over this. It's cool. No, tell me. And I was like, well, I thought you were into me because I'm into you. And she goes, I am into you, you bozo, or whatever she called me. And I was like, well, then you should definitely break up with your boyfriend. So she broke up with her boyfriend. The very next day, we went on a breakfast date, and we hung out every single day except for 2 days when I was at a conference in California until we got married.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was wild.
That's a lot of each other. You really knew that you could tolerate each other by some point. I guess.
That's kind of, so everybody is like, well, how do you know, right? That's a big question when you're single or you're dating. Like, how do you know they're the one? And for me, like, I had girlfriends, but I always needed, like, guy time. I was like, I need some time away just for me. And with her, every time I would have guy time, I'd be like, it would just be more fun if she was here.
Yeah.
And so I would just invite her, and then it was more fun when she was there. And for her, it was the same. She's like, yeah, I'm doing stuff with my girls, but like I'd rather be hanging out with them.
Yeah.
And so we just never got sick of each other.
Yeah.
And here we are 5 years later, and we're still not sick of each other.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Pretty
Yeah, it's funny because like you know, I go on a ski trip every year with some guys, and it's funny because like I feel like it would be more fun, you know, if the one that you enjoy the most was there.
Yeah.
So it's funny because like a lot of times we'll be at somewhere that's like an amazing nature scene. Like we went to Tahoe. But when we get there, I'm like, the one person that I would want to see this with would be her, right?
Exactly.
Like the guys in the car, they're experiencing it, but
Yeah.
so she's like, I'll take pictures and I'll send pictures or FaceTime, you know, the mountain scene. Like I promise you, it looks way better in person.
Yeah.
You know,
Wish you were here.
Yeah, I wish you were here, but you know, I enjoy the guy time. But
Yeah.
you know, like,
Well, it's different, right? It's like shifting gears. Now that we're married and you hang out with your guys, you're like, oh, this is fine. It's fun in its own way.
yeah,
You know, it's not like the most fun I'm gonna ever have in my life because like my favorite person isn't here, but it's a different type of fun. It's a fun where like, you know, it's like dudes, like you make each other laugh and make fun of each other, and then you go home and you're like,
no real conversation happens.
exactly
right? When you're hanging
you
out
just make
with
a
guys.
lot of you rag on each other a lot and you move on.
Like, what did you guys talk about? Like, if I go hang out with guys, like, how was? And my wife's like, how was it? What'd you guys talk? I'm like, I don't really remember. It's like, how do you not remember? It was like an hour ago. I'm like, well, because we don't really talk about anything. It's just you know, making fun of each other.
Yeah, you just enjoy being around each other.
Girls hang out and they have like a big agenda of everything that they're going to talk about.
So we need to talk about this.
We're gonna get in trouble for talking like that.
I mean, you know, it's fine. Like I said, what you see is what you get, and I definitely say this stuff around Mal. She does hit me on the arm when I say stuff like this, but we're in a secluded room, so she can't hit me right now.
There you go. That's fine. So, talked a little bit about your hobbies. Like, what is there anything else that people should know about Josiah that like this is who you are? You said you like obviously you spent some time as a missionary's kid. That was that was a huge part of your upbringing and really who you are today.
Yeah.
You're pretty outgoing. I'm not like
extrovert,
big into personality types other than introvert, extrovert.
Yeah. Myers-Briggs.
Like not the kind of stuff drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Like all the numbers and letters and stuff. It goes over my head.
Yeah.
I let other people take those for me, but like, what should people know about your personality? Obviously, you're an outgoing guy. You love being around people, talking to people.
Yeah, extrovert. I love people. I love learning stuff. So I like you know, trying out new stuff, and I like getting excited about other people's hobbies as you know.
Oh, sure.
Because I get bored with something like you do, and then you move on to the next thing. And so like I love learning about what people are into and going and doing stuff like that with people. Yeah.
You like this isn't really personality, but you love fitness, working out.
Yeah,
whenever
every day.
you can.
Yeah, whenever I can. Yeah, every day usually. Yeah, that was something I started in Chicago. Friends got me into it.
Yeah.
And it was really awful the first week. And then after that, I was like, all right, this is going to be a thing now.
Yeah.
So
then you start to love to learn that muscle fatigue.
Exactly. Yeah. You enjoy it in its own kind of way. Yeah. So, yeah, I like working out. I like being around people. I don't take myself very seriously at all.
Sure.
I take the work seriously, right? I take
worship.
Yeah, well, probably helpful. No, I take worship seriously, but I don't take there's like, people will find, I think, that there's very little if any, ego around when it comes to like stage or anything like that. Man, what else? I don't know.
That's probably.
If you see me on Sunday, come talk to me. I'm a nice guy, I promise. I won't be mean.
Yeah, it'll take you a while to get to know people, but like you were telling me or telling us earlier, like our church is very like it's very outgoing.
Yeah,
people just relaxed here. They like to know everybody. Like to get to know people, and so that's gonna be cool. Like I'm excited for you to get to know a lot of the faces that we talk about in the office. And
you guys drop some names, and I'm like, okay, do I meet them? Yeah. Luckily, you know who I've met so far, so you're like, you actually, you do know them.
Yeah, there'll be a time where I'm not around, and then there'll be Sundays where I'm out and you're here by yourself.
Like, let's see. Okay, so they looked like this.
Yeah. So tell us, like, tell me a little bit about your musical interests. So, because like you lead worship with guitar, like acoustic guitar mainly, but sometimes electric guitar, kind of like me.
Yeah.
But mostly acoustic.
Yep.
But so like as far as your musical inspirations, I would say in like the worship realm,
sure,
because that's kind of what this job is relating to. But where do you go there? Because like obviously, I think that you're pretty familiar with our song library. Maybe apart from a few little ones here and there that a bunch of churches might not do, but with you being over the worship ministry and bringing in new songs and things like that, so what's your flavor?
Yeah, what's my flavor?
What's your worship flavor?
I mean, so to give it the most broad context, I would say anything that gets people to connect with God and worship. But for being more specific, my personal preferences is I love Brandon Lake and I love Phil Wickham and I love some Christian Stanfield.
They were just here.
Yeah, I know they were.
Yeah,
I know I couldn't make it. I was super bummed.
Yeah, I had somebody message me and on Facebook Messenger, which I don't use a ton, so don't do that. If you want to get in touch with me, don't do that.
Text me.
But but it was like I'm at the Brandon Lake Phil Wickham concert. He's like, did you know that you sound just like Brandon Lake? And I'm like, I've never heard that before. I've heard.
Thank you.
I was like, I guess that's a compliment.
Yeah, I'll take that any day.
But so those two guys are awesome inspirations.
Those two guys are great. Yeah, I think they're killing it right now, and they're I like their maturity. In terms of like bands, Hillsong United's been around for forever, and I like a lot of their stuff. There's kind of, I mean, this in the worship world when it comes to like choosing church music, there's really like 5 you have to keep on your constant radar, and then there's other fun ones to sprinkle in every once in a while. So you've got the Hillsong United, the Passion, the Bethel, the Elevation, and then you either choose like a Phil Wickham or a Chris Tomlin or one of the solo artists, and then the rest are periphery, the Shane and Shanes, the Gateway, so I like all of them.
And you have like all the alt worship
all the
scene, right?
Exactly, like different, we're not like
MSC
the other ones.
Or what was
Mosaic,
Hillsong Young and Free, Elevation, those are
Rhythm,
geared for like teenagers, but still we've done a few of those.
Some of them from I've done a few of those too,
but it's always good to sprinkle in a little bit from everywhere.
Well, I like to engage people where they're at, and even though we're gonna go somewhere together, God reached down to us and met us where we were at. And so I like to do the same thing and try to, when you're trying to get a large group of people to worship, you're taking a bunch of different states of mind. You don't know what they've gone through this morning or where their head's at. And you're trying to kind of corral them all into shifting their focus to God. And so anything that will do that, usually something that, is familiar enough but slightly uncomfortable, kind of can shake somebody out of it. You go, whoa, that's different. Type of deal can kind of get people's heads out of that. We've done some Hillsong Young and Free or some Elevation Rhythm or just some fun different stuff. And then you have the other alt where it's like the Shane and Shane, less so You've Already Won, which we did this last week, but like the super acoustic, the anti synth pad motion vibe, which they've got their place too, and like those are fun.
I grew up on that stuff. Like like that's what got me into worship ministry was like old school Shane and Shane. Like their original albums with like all like some of the Psalms and
the hymn like kind of remakes
like Yearn and those songs that stuff just whenever it's super nostalgic when I listen to it brings me back. For
me it's like I grew up on like Heart of Worship, Matt Redman, right?
Geez.
You got to think, dude. Like late '90s, early 2000s. Those were.
So your first set list is the 9th. This coming Sunday, and then sometime today you've got to pick songs for the next one. So Heart of Worship will be.
Heart
on
of
there.
Worship's going to be in there. What else are we going to do? We're going to
10,000
do
Reasons.
Shout to the Lord. You remember that one? Yeah.
Gosh, yeah. It was funny because I was having a conversation with somebody in the worship team on Sunday in the green room, and they were like, "It'd be so fun to have a worship night where we just did like all the throwbacks." Like,
sure.
And I was like, "Okay, well, what are those?"
That's the question.
Because there's so many.
Yeah.
But one of the songs that we did around here a lot that people loved was the North Point song.
Death Was Arrested.
Death Was Arrested. Yeah.
And they're a big one.
Yeah, and I was like, that would be one, like, because that's like almost, I think in some circles that song is almost coming back, because I think that like our student ministry does it.
Yeah. And it is good. It's a good song. There's nothing wrong with the song. The difficulty when you do throwback songs, or throwback Sundays, or throwback music events, nostalgia nights is what we used to call them in Chicago.
Yeah, I like that.
Is that it is purely nostalgia, and so the difficulty with it is nostalgia for who.
Sure.
Because like for my dad, who grew up in the 70s and 80s, he was like, "Hey man, you should do this song for Easter." And I was like, "What is it?" "It's called Easter Song by Keith Green." And I listened to it and I was like, "What on earth is this?" He's like, "No, people are gonna like it. They're gonna remember back." And so I go into it and I'm like, "Hear the bells ringing, they're singing." And I'm looking around, I'm like, nobody cares about this at all.
Sure.
And it was a huge flop. And it's like, all right, man, we took a swing. It's okay. But it is, who's nostalgia?
Right.
For me, From the Inside Out was like when
yeah.
I was in middle school.
Yeah.
So that's nostalgia.
Yeah.
For somebody else, From the Inside Out was when they were in college and they're like, "Oh man, it's the best thing ever." And to me, it's like, yeah, it's fine. Like,
well, then the
I was
thing
a
is
kid.
too, you've got all the you always have new believers that are entering the scene.
So for some people, Death Was Arrested is nostalgia.
And from the inside out, they're like, "Oh, this is such a fresh song.
Oh, I've never heard that before."
And then they have to dig back in like Hillsong 2004 to find it.
They see all the straightened hair in front of people's face.
Yeah, there's a guy, one of our elders actually on at church, Tim Billingsley. Shout out Tim if you're listening. He was he wasn't a believer back in the like DC Talk era. So we were sending him like songs. He was
Jesus Freak,
Jesus Freak,
stuff.
like all of that kind of stuff was like blowing his mind. I'm like,
whoa,
yeah, that's crazy because that stuff seems so long ago, but it's a genre that like unless you're a believer in church,
when would you come across it?
Like nobody would have heard that ever.
Yeah, it's not like MC Hammer, where like even if you're not into hip hop in the '90s, you probably heard Hammer Time.
Right. Yeah. And so like it's just one of those things that's interesting because, like for me, and I look back at my upbringing in like contemporary Baptist churches that were still in pews and things like that, and we were singing like Days of Elijah, those kind of songs. Like that's nostalgia for me. But then again, I've been in this church for 11 years, and I feel like I've been in worship ministry long enough to where like when I hear From the Inside Out, I'm like, oh, that was only a few years ago, but like in reality, it was forever ago.
It was a while ago, yeah.
So it's always everybody has different views on what's old and what's new.
100%.
But we do, one of the songs that our church has such a hard time letting go of because it brings people to tears is Great I Am.
Classic song. I've led that song many a time.
And we've probably done that here for 10 years now.
Okay.
And I'm not going to say whether or not you're going to delete it out of the library, but
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's already gone. Maybe who knows? I don't know.
We'll find out.
But
I'm on the ride.
Yeah. So I don't know. Let's see. We've been doing this for a little bit. I don't know. I can't see the time over there on the computer. So
I can see the measures.
No, that's not going to tell us much.
It's not going to tell me anything.
Well, is there anything that you wanted to bring up or ask me, or maybe not? I mean, people.
Oh man,
we just get to know you over time, and that was the main point of this episode, was for people to hear you a little bit, shoot the breeze, and hear who you are.
I think just don't be a stranger. Don't feel like because I'm new, I must be super overwhelmed with meeting people. Like I still want to meet you. Like if you're here on a Sunday morning or throughout the week, like just say what's up. Please give me lots of grace when it comes to names and faces early on, because I'm learning a lot of them. But I'll do my very best, and don't be shy.
We remember faces.
I remember faces
Yeah.
much better than names.
Yeah, that's the case most of the time, especially in a church. You know, you meet so many people.
Yeah.
A lot of times you meet so many people just in passing. It's impossible to know everybody. And you might meet
Well-
somebody and they might not come to church for another 5 weeks, and then
Yeah.
it's like, oh wait, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and
What's your
for you and me, right, we're like usually running around trying to, put out fires.
There's a
or
million
dig
things in your brain.
And somebody
Yeah.
will come up to you and they'll say something, nice and complimentary, and you're like, thank you so much, that's super
Yeah.
sweet. I hope
Yeah.
you have a great Sunday.
Yep.
And you kind of turn, you have to like shift gears super fast, so it's hard to
Yeah.
sometimes catch names in this
Yeah.
context.
Sunday mornings are tough. There's so many times, and a lot of people can say this is true, but they'll come up to me and they'll be like, I need you to do this or that, or will you? And I'm like, I promise you, I will forget.
Yes.
Email me during the week when I'm in my
Yes.
office, and that's when I'll be able to get it done. So you
Yeah.
tell me something. If you tell me you need something on Sunday, odds are it's not going to happen
Yeah.
because I'm just
Unless
gonna
it
forget.
is something on my person I can give you right now.
Yeah, like whether or not they need a new key made or something. A lot
Sure.
of different things that my hands are in the church. But yeah, so Sundays are crazy. But yeah,
Yeah.
you're encouraging people to come
Come
talk to
say
you
hi.
regardless.
Yeah, come say hi.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And bring up your scooter story.
Bring up my
or-
scoots. If you're a fellow scooter and you want to go on rides,
Ooh,
hit me up.
Nice. You can
Let's
start a
make-
local club.
Let's do a gang.
Yeah.
yeah, a
Oh.
scoot. Well, gang's a strong word. A club is a better
You know what's
word.
funny? Because like pickleball's big right now. I'm not
Yes.
into pickleball, but Mitch
is
big
really
into
big into
pickleball. So
pickleball.
and he's got the student ministry club. So like you could do a scoot pickleball club where like everybody rides over to the pickleball courts.
And yeah, on the
Boom.
scoots.
It's a very niche market though.
I'm going to convince Lisa Kay to let you get a scoot.
but I don't know. Maybe who knows? It is mainly back roads
fun.
from my house to the church, so I could do
It's
it pretty
fun.
easy.
What are the speed limits?
I think mainly 45, so it'd
fine.
be good.
Yeah, you
but
can
there's a lot of like tractors and things like that. Like
Even
get run
better, man.
over.
You can bob and weave.
Anyway, well, Josiah, it was great having you on the podcast.
Thanks.
I say,
Thanks for
I
having
don't know
me.
if it was great having me on the podcast.
It was great.
but-
Thanks for being my guest. I
Yes, sir.
appreciate it. Yeah,
it's
very-
great.
it's-
Maybe they'll let us do it again. But when they hear this, they'll be like, "This isn't the direction we wanted to go with the In All Things podcast." So
There's some creative differences we
Yeah.
want to address.
I will say this: so this was a one-off summer episode.
Yep.
There may be one or two of these. I don't know, but we'll be starting, I guess, season 5 in the fall, and
Cool.
I don't know. Maybe Mitch will have you on for one of those episodes, and you guys will get to dive deep into a theological topic or something like
It'd
that.
be
Those are
fun. Yeah, it'd be a
but,
blast. I've been watching them, so
yeah,
it'd be
so
cool.
you'll be ready for it.
I don't think anybody's ever ready for it.
I will. Yeah. So plugging season 5. Mitch always does this at the end of every episode. But if anybody out there has a topic that they want covered this upcoming season, all you got to do is email podcasts@sycamorecreek.org. I think podcast or podcasts, they both go to the same inbox.
Perfect.
So email that, whatever questions you got for this upcoming season, and we'll try to get them in the topic list. And I know Mitch is excited to get rolling with season 5, but
Yeah.
thanks for being on, and
Thanks for having
we'll
me.
talk to you guys all soon, and
Yeah.
You'll see everybody on Sunday on stage.
I'll be the guy on stage singing stuff.
All right, that's a wrap.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Boom, like and subscribe. Yeah, that's a wrap. Thanks, everybody.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the In All Things podcast. Our challenge for you today is to send this episode to one person. Seriously, think of somebody right now that could use this conversation and send it to them. If you have any questions, feedback, or topic ideas, please send them to podcast@sycamorecreek.org, and make sure you follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Sycamore Creek Church so that you can always see what's going on in our world. If this conversation helped you at all, make sure you share it, leave a review, and subscribe so that you don't miss out on a single episode. We love you, God loves you, and we'll see you next week on the In All Things podcast.